Adiz stood in the middle of the village square, her wrapper dusty, her eyes blazing like hot coals. The sun was high over Umuaka, and the whole village had gathered. Women, men, children, even babies on their mothers' backs stared with wide eyes. Talking drums beat slowly, like a heartbeat before a storm. On the ground, in front of everyone, Mama Obinna, the wicked mother-in-law, was on her knees. Her fine wrapper was soaked with sweat. Ashes were rubbed on her arms, just as she used to rub ashes on the faces of her daughters-in-law when she wanted to shame them. A heavy mortar stood beside her, filled with yam she had been forced to pound under the hot sun. Her back shook with tiredness. "Adiz," Mama Obinna panted, her voice shaking. "Enough. I am still your elder. You cannot do this to me." Adiz stepped closer, holding up the same short cane Mama Obinna used to beat the other young wives for small mistakes. "You said elders never kneel to the young," Adiz said, her voice clear. "But did you remember that when you made Chioma kneel on hot stones? When you made Bizi sleep outside in the cold? When you tried to break me?" The crowd murmured. People shifted. Some hid their faces in shame, remembering how they had kept quiet. "You punished every daughter-in-law that entered this house," Adiz continued. "Today you will taste what you gave them. Not because I hate you, but because wickedness must not sit on a throne forever." Before we continue, please like and subscribe and let us know where you're watching from. Long before Adiz stood in the hot sun with the whole village watching, she was just a young woman with bright eyes and a hopeful heart. She lived in the next village, Umyuk, with her parents and 2 younger brothers. Their small mud house was old, but it was full of laughter. In the evenings, when the sky turned orange and goats wandered home, her father would sit on a low stool and tell stories. "My children," he always said, "a person who keeps quiet in front of wickedness is like someone who sees fire and says, 'It is only small smoke. Soon the whole house will burn.'" Adiz listened with wide eyes. She was kind, but she was not weak. She helped her mother in the farm, fetched water, cooked, washed, and still found time to sit with the older women and hear their stories. When Obinna first came to ask for her hand in marriage, everyone smiled. Obinna was tall and strong, with kind eyes and a soft laugh. He spoke gently and listened when people talked. He came from the neighboring village, Umuaka, which was bigger and richer than Umyuk. "Your daughter will not suffer with me," he told Adiz's parents, his voice respectful. "I will work hard for her. She will lack nothing." Adiz liked Obinna. He helped her carry firewood when he visited. He joined her brothers in playing Ao under the mango tree. He did not shout or brag like some young men. Only one thing made Adiz a little afraid. Everyone spoke in low tones about his mother, Mama Obinna. "She is strong," people said carefully. "Her mouth is sharp," others whispered. Some shook their heads in silence. Once, Adiz heard 2 market women talking when they thought she was not listening. "Have you heard?" the first woman said. "Obinna wants to marry again." "Again?" the second woman hissed. "What happened to the first wife? And the second?" "Ah!" the first woman clicked her tongue. "You know Mama Obinna. She likes to rule the house. She chased the other daughters-in-law away. But people don't talk too much. She is rich and loud. Her words carry far." Adiz's heart beat faster. She pretended to be busy with her basket of peppers, but her ears were burning. That night she sat beside her father, picking out stones from a bowl of beans. "Papa," she said quietly, "is it true that Mama Obinna chased away her other daughters-in-law?" Her father looked at her for a long moment. "I do not live in that compound," he said slowly. "But I have ears. I have heard that the 2 young women left with tears in their eyes. Then why will you let me marry into such a house?" Adiz asked, her voice shaking. Her father sighed and put down the beans. "My daughter, marriage is like a journey. No road is perfect. Some have stones, some have mud, some have dust. What matters is the kind of shoe you wear and who is walking with you." He touched her cheek gently. "You have courage," he said. "You are not rude, but you say the truth. If you decide to marry Obinna, you must remember who you are. Respect elders but do not let anyone crush your spirit. If you fear wicked people, you give them a chair to sit in your house. His words stayed in her heart. On the day of the traditional marriage, drums sounded from morning till night. Women ululated, men clapped, and children ran around with oily chins from stolen meat. Adiz was dressed in a bright wrapper, with red beads on her neck and wrists. Her friends danced around her as they followed Obinna's people back to Umuaka. When they entered Obinna's compound, Adiz's eyes widened. The house was big, with 3 small houses around a large yard. Goats tied under a mango tree chewed lazily. Chickens scratched the ground. Smoke from cooking fires curled into the sky. And there, standing in the middle of the yard like a queen, was Mama Obinna. She was a tall, strong woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Gold earrings shone on her ears, and she tied her wrapper in a tight knot, as if ready for battle. Adiz, she sang out, stretching her hands. The way she said Adiz's name made it sound like a challenge. So this is the flower my son has brought home. Adiz knelt quickly, as her mother had taught her. She greeted her with respect, touching the ground and then her chest. Mama Obinna placed a heavy hand on her head. Stand up, she said with a wide smile that did not reach her eyes. You are welcome. In this house we love hard work. I hope you have strong hands. People laughed. Adiz smiled shyly, not sure if it was a joke. The dancing and celebration continued. Palm wine flowed. Old men told stories. Children played hide and seek behind the water pots. Late in the afternoon, when visitors were still eating, Mama Obinna called Adiz aside. New wife, she shouted from the kitchen. Come here. Adiz hurried in. In the small, smoky kitchen, 3 big pots of soup bubbled on the fire. Yam sat half-peeled in a basin. Plates and cups were scattered everywhere. Since you say you can be a good wife, Mama Obinna said, her voice now sharp and cold, you will show it today. All this food, all these plates, you will finish them before night. I want this place shining like the moon. Adiz blinked. Mama, today is my wedding day. The guests are still here. Can I not start tomorrow? Mama Obinna's eyes narrowed. So you have already started, she said slowly. The others also started with, tomorrow, tomorrow. Did you come here to sit and paint your nails? Adiz flushed. No, Mama. I did not mean. Silence. Mama Obinna slapped her hand on the wooden table. In this house we do not speak back to elders. You cook. You wash. You serve. You smile. That is all. Now move. Adiz swallowed her tears and began to peel yam. Hours passed. The laughter outside grew louder, then softer. People ate and danced while Adiz bent over smoke and hot pots. Her back ached. Her fingers burned from touching hot plates. No one came to help. Once, Obinna peeped into the kitchen. My wife, he started. Out. Mama Obinna shouted. Do you want to turn her into a lazy log? She's fine. She is learning. Obinna's eyes met Adiz for a brief moment. He looked guilty, then stepped back and allowed the curtain to fall. By the time the last plate was washed, the moon was high. The guests had gone. The compound was quiet. Even the crickets seemed tired. Adiz dragged herself to the small room that she and Obinna would share. She lay on the mat and stared at the ceiling. Her body hurt all over. Her heart hurt even more. Is this how it will be? She whispered into the dark. Is this my new life? A tear slipped down her cheek. Outside she heard footsteps and low voices. Curious, she stood up and moved quietly to the small window. The moonlight lit the yard. Mama Obinna sat on a stool with another older woman from the village. They spoke in low tones, but the night carried their words. This one will not last, Mama Obinna said with a laugh. Did you see how her hands shook over the fire? She is soft. I will squeeze all the pride out of her. Just like I did to the others. The other woman chuckled. Ah, Mama Obinna, you are too much. They came here with big eyes and big dreams, Mama Obinna went on. Now where are they? Back in their father's houses, shamed. My sons belong to me. No small girl will come and take them. Adi's breath caught in her throat. Others. So it was true. She was not the first. She leaned closer to the window, her heart beating fast. She wanted to hear more, but the voices dropped lower. Suddenly, a soft hand touched her shoulder. Adiz jumped and turned. An old woman stood in the shadows, her eyes kind but sad. Her wrapper was faded, and her shoulders were bent from hard years of work. My daughter, the old woman whispered, you are not the first woman to stand at this window and cry. Adiz stared at her. What do you mean, Mama? The old woman glanced toward Mama Obinna, then back at Adiz. Do you want to know what happened to the other daughters-in-law in this house? She asked. Adiz's mouth went dry. She could only nod. The old woman took a deep breath. Then listen well, she said. Because if you do nothing, the same will happen to you. Adiz's heart beat like a drum in her chest. The night was cool, but sweat stood on her forehead. The small lamp inside the room gave a faint light. Outside, Mama Obinna's laughter floated in the air like smoke. The old woman's eyes were full of pain. My name is Neka, she said softly. I am Mama Obinna's distant cousin. I have watched many things in this compound. Things that still follow me in my dreams. Adiz swallowed. Mama Neka. What happened to the others? Neka leaned against the wall and sighed. The first one was Chioma, she began. A quiet girl. She came from a poor family, but she had a bright smile. She married your husband's elder brother, Emeka. She paused, as if she could still see the girl. When Chioma came, she wanted to please everyone. She woke up before the rooster crowed. She swept the whole yard. She cooked for the whole family. She washed, she carried, she never rested. Neka shook her head. But in this house, no matter what you do, it is not enough. If the soup was salty, it was her fault. If the rain fell on the clothes, it was her fault. If a plate broke, it was her fault. Mama Obinna shouted at her from morning till night. What did her husband do? Adiz asked, fear growing in her heart. Emeka. Neka's mouth twisted sadly. He loved his mother more than his own bones. When Chioma cried and tried to tell him, he said, she is my mother. Respect her. Don't bring trouble into my house. Soon he began to see Chioma as the problem, not his mother. Adiz's chest tightened. One day, Neka continued, a neighbor's hen entered the compound and scattered the yam flour. Mama Obinna blamed Chioma. She made the poor girl kneel on rough stones from morning till the sun was high. When Chioma tried to stand, her knees were bleeding. She fainted and fell. Adiz covered her mouth. What happened after? She whispered. They poured water on her and she woke up, Neka said. But something inside her broke that day. A few weeks later, she left before sunrise and never came back. Her parents came to complain, but Mama Obinna said Chioma was lazy and rude. The village listened to her loud voice and believed her. Adiz felt anger rising in her chest like hot fire. And the second one? She asked softly. The second daughter-in-law? Her name was Bizi, Neka said. She married your husband, Obinna. Adiz's heart jumped. Obinna has married before. Neka nodded slowly. He was younger then. Bizi was strong and lively. She laughed loudly, she sang while working. At first even Mama Obinna smiled. She thought, this one has energy. She will work well. What happened? Adiz pressed. At first it was small things, Neka said. Mama Obinna would send her to the farm and then to the stream and then to the market, all in one day. If she complained, she was called ungrateful. If she wanted to rest, she was told she was lazy. Neka looked down at her hands. One evening, Bizi made a small mistake. She forgot to add salt to the soup. Mama Obinna shouted so much that people in the next compound heard. Then she said, if you cannot cook, you will not eat. She took Bizi's plate away and poured the food for the dogs. Adi's stomach turned. Beezy tried to laugh and make peace, Neka said. But one day she spoke back. She said, Mama, you cannot keep treating me like this. I am your daughter too. Neka's eyes grew sadder. That night, she went on. Mama Obinna cried and rolled on the floor, shouting that Beezy had insulted her. She told Obinna, choose. It is either me or this which you call wife. Adiz closed her eyes in pain. She could almost see it. Obinna loved his mother, Neka said. He begged both of them. He tried to make peace. But every day Mama Obinna made his life hard. She refused to eat. She refused to talk. She said she would die and haunt him. In the end, Neka's voice dropped to a whisper. In the end, Beezy could not take it. One morning she left quietly. She did not even take all her clothes. She just went. Some say she went to the city. Some say she married again. I don't know. But this compound has not seen her since. Adiz felt like the walls were closing around her. So that is why you said I am not the first to stand at this window and cry, she said, her voice shaking. Yes, Neka replied. I have watched 3 young women leave this place with tears on their faces. And I know Mama Obinna. She will not stop until she breaks you too. Unless you do something different. Adiz looked at the older woman. What can I do? She asked. She is my husband's mother. She is older. The whole village fears her. If I complain, they will say I am rude. My husband, he is kind, but I can already see he fears her anger. Neka's eyes shone. You must not become hard like her, she said. But you must not be soft like Gary in water. You need wisdom. You need courage. You need people who will stand with you when the time comes. People, Adiz repeated. Who will stand with me? Neka looked out into the night. You are not the only one she has hurt, she said. There are others who are watching. Others who are waiting. Her wickedness is like smoke. It has entered many houses. Adiz thought of Chioma and Beezy. She thought of her own mother's gentle hands. She thought of her father's words. If you fear wicked people, you give them a chair to sit in your house. I don't want to run away, Adiz whispered. I don't want to go back to my father's house with shame. Neka nodded firmly. Then you must be the one who stops this circle. You must be the one who makes sure no other daughter-in-law cries like this again. How? Adiz asked. Tell me how, Mama. Neka hesitated. The light flickered, making her face look old and wise. There is an elder in this village, she said slowly. His name is Papa Okafor. People go to him when there is trouble. He has watched this village for many years. He has seen what Mama Obinna has done, but no one brings him proof. If you go to him, if you tell him the truth, maybe this matter will not die in the dark. Adiz felt fear clutch her stomach. Go to him, she asked. Behind Mama Obinna's back. Sometimes, Neka said softly, when a tree grows crooked and begins to fall on people, you don't wait for the tree to ask permission before you call the men to cut it. Adiz was silent for a long moment. She could hear the owls in the distance, the soft rustle of leaves, the faint cough of someone in another room. If she did nothing, she knew what would happen. Day after day, she would work like a slave. Night after night, she would cry into her pillow. One day, she too would leave, bitter and broken, and another young girl would come and take her place of suffering. Her anger slowly turned into something else, a firm strength like a rope pulled tight. I will go, she said quietly. I will speak to Papa Okafor. Neka's eyes widened a little. Then she nodded. Good, she said. But you must be careful. If Mama Obinna hears, she will not sit and watch. She will fight like a wounded lioness. I am already in a lion's mouth, Adiz said, surprising herself with her own words. If I keep quiet, the teeth will close. If I fight, at least I have a chance. Neka smiled sadly. You have your father's spirit, she said. Listen. Tomorrow when you go to the stream, take the small bush path behind the big Udala tree. It leads to Papa Okafor's compound. Go alone. Tell him everything you have told me. Tell him about Chioma and Beezy too. Adiz nodded slowly. Just then, heavy footsteps sounded outside. A shadow moved past the window. Neka quickly stepped away from Adiz. Lie down, she whispered. Pretend you are sleeping. We will talk again later. Adiz lay on the mat and closed her eyes just as the door creaked open. Mama Obinna stood there, holding a small oil lamp. The light made her face look like carved stone. So, she said, her voice low and sharp, my new wife prefers to rest while others are still awake. Adiz's heart pounded, but she kept her eyes half shut. I have been working since morning, Mama, she murmured. I am very tired. Mama Obinna grunted. Tired already? We shall see how long you last. She looked around the room, her eyes searching every corner, as if she could smell secrets in the air. At last she turned to go. But just before she stepped out, she said over her shoulder, Tomorrow you will wake before dawn and go to the stream. I want all the water pots filled. And don't follow the main road. Use the bush path behind the udala tree. It is faster. Adiz's eyes flew open. The same path Neka had just told her to use. Mama Obinna's lips curled in a small, cold smile. Sleep well, my dear, she said softly. Tomorrow will be a very busy day for you. She walked out and closed the door gently. Adiz lay frozen on her mat, her mind racing. Had Mama Obinna heard them talking? Did she know about Papa Okafor? Was she trying to test her? Or lead her into danger? The plan that had just formed in her heart now felt like a knife she was holding by the blade. If she still followed that path in the morning, she might be walking straight into a trap. The cock crowed before the sky even turned gray. Adiz. Adiz. Mama Obinna's voice cut through the morning like a knife. Are you still sleeping? The goats are awake, but you are still snoring. Adiz opened her eyes. She had barely slept. All night she turned on the mat, thinking about Neka's words, thinking about the bush path, thinking about Papa Okafor, and thinking about the way Mama Obinna had smiled when she told her to use that same path. Now the air was cold. A thin mist lay like smoke on the ground. Yes, Mama, I am awake, Adiz answered. She tied her wrapper quickly and stepped outside, carrying 2 big clay pots. The yard was quiet. Only Neka was already up, sweeping slowly in a corner. Their eyes met for a moment. Neka's broom paused. She gave the smallest shake of her head, like a whisper without sound. Be careful. Adiz's heart beat faster. Mama Obinna stood near the doorway, chewing a stick to clean her teeth. New wife, she said, looking Adiz up and down. Do not waste time. Use the bush path behind the udala tree. If you follow the main road, I will know you are stubborn. Adiz held the pots tighter. Yes, Mama, she replied quietly. She turned and walked toward the gate. As she stepped into the cool morning air outside the compound, her mind raced. If I follow the bush path, I may walk into her trap, she thought. If I use the main road, she will know I disobeyed. She will shout, she will cry, she will turn everyone against me. Then how will I talk to Papa Okafor? She stopped for a moment and looked back. Mama Obinna still stood in the doorway, watching her like a hawk. When their eyes met, the older woman bared her teeth in a fake smile and waved. Adiz turned away. Papa, she prayed silently in her heart, you told me not to fear wicked people. Give me wisdom now. I do not know what to do. Slowly, she walked toward the big udala tree. The fog made the world look strange. The tree stood like a tall spirit by the side of the road, its branches heavy with green fruit. Behind it, the bush path opened like a small mouth, leading into the thick grass. Adiz stood there, her pots resting on her hips. She listened. The main road to the stream was to her left. She could hear distant voices. Other women laughing and talking as they walked, girls singing, boys chasing each other. It was busy, open, safe. The bush path was quiet. Only the sound of crickets and the soft hiss of the grass moving in the breeze. If she wanted to harm me, Adiz whispered to herself, would she tell me so plainly? Or is she just trying to scare me? Her hand shook a little. She closed her eyes and remembered Neka's face. Sometimes, Neka had said, when a tree grows crooked and begins to fall on people, you don't wait for the tree to ask permission before you call the men to cut it. If I do nothing, Adiz thought, nothing will change. I must be brave. She opened her eyes, took a deep breath, and stepped into the bush path. The grass brushed against her legs as she walked. Birds flew out of the trees, fluttering away. The ground was uneven, full of roots and small stones. Adiz walked carefully so the pots would not fall. She used the first part of the path to go in the direction of the stream, in case anyone was watching. Then, when she reached a sharp bend, she paused and looked around. No one. Now, she whispered. Instead of turning toward the stream, she took a smaller track that branched off to the right, the way Neka had told her. It led uphill, toward a cluster of big trees where Papa Okafor's compound sat. As she walked, the air grew fresher. She could hear goats bleating in the distance and the soft sound of a mortar pounding yam. After some time she saw it, a wide compound with old mud walls, shaded by an ancient iroko tree. The walls were cracked but strong. Smoke rose gently from the kitchen. A small goat tied near the entrance chewed lazily, half asleep. This was Papa Okafor's house. Adiz's legs felt weak. What if he refused to listen? What if he sent her away? What if someone saw her and ran to tell Mama Obinna? Before her fear could stop her, she walked to the entrance and called softly, "Papa Okafor." "Good morning, sir." A young boy with a round face and sleepy eyes peeped out. "Yes. Who are you?" he asked. "My name is Adiz," she said. "I am Obinna's wife. I have come from Mama Obinna's compound. Please, I need to see Papa Okafor." The boy raised his eyebrows. "Wait here," he said, and disappeared inside. Adiz's heart thumped in her ears. After a short while, an old man came out, leaning on a walking stick. His hair was white like cotton wool, and his eyes were sharp, even though his face was lined with age. "Adiz," he said slowly, tasting her name. "I know your husband. Come inside, my daughter. Sit." He led her to a wooden bench under the iroko tree. The air felt cooler there. Leaves rustled above their heads. "What brings you here this early morning?" Papa Okafor asked. "Your eyes look heavy. You are carrying more than those pots." Adiz's throat felt dry. For a moment she wanted to say, "It is nothing." She wanted to smile and pretend. But then she remembered Chioma's bleeding knees, Beezy's empty room, and her own tears on the mat. The words came out like a flood. "Papa, I have come because of Mama Obinna," she said. "I have come because of what she does to her daughters-in-law." And she told him everything. She spoke about her first day in the kitchen, the insults, the long list of work. She described how Mama Obinna spoke to her son, how she twisted stories, how she shouted and cried to make people feel guilty. She told him what Neka had said about Chioma and Beezy, how they had left in tears and shame. Papa Okafor listened without interrupting. He occasionally nodded or rubbed his chin, but he did not stop her. At the end, Adiz's voice broke. "I don't want to run away," she said, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I don't want another girl to suffer after me. But I am only one person. Who will listen to me? Who will speak for me?" Papa Okafor let out a long breath. "My daughter," he said quietly, "you are not the first to come to me with words about Mama Obinna." Adiz's head snapped up. "I am not." "No," he replied. "Others came before you. One too. Even Neka came many years ago before you even knew this village. They all complained. They all cried. But when it was time to stand in front of people and speak, they became afraid. They ran away. They left without looking back." He tapped his stick on the ground. "The problem with wicked people," he went on, "is not only their own wickedness. It is also the fear of those around them. Fear feeds the wicked. It gives them strength." Adiz felt his words sink into her heart. "So you knew," she asked softly. "You knew what she was like. And nothing changed." Papa Okafor's shoulders drooped a little. A tree can be cut, he said, but only if those who sit under its shade agree. Many in this village fear Mama Obina's tongue. Some still take her gifts. Some say, "It is not my business." So when I call meeting, when I ask for witnesses, they keep quiet. A judge cannot punish a person with only shadows and whispers. He looked straight into her eyes. "That is why your coming here today is important," he said. "You are the first who has come and said, I do not want to run. I want to stop this." Adiz sat very still. "What can we do?" she asked. "Tell me, Papa. I am ready to try." Papa Okafor raised his hand and pointed to the ground. "First," he said, "we will not rush like children chasing a chicken. This matter is big. If we handle it with weak hands, the pot will break and hot soup will pour on everyone." He thought for a moment. "I will call a small meeting first," he decided. "Not the whole village. Just some elders I trust. I will also speak to Neka. I will send secretly for Chioma and Bizi if we can find them. If they return and stand with you, if you all speak with one voice, then even the loudest woman's shout will not cover the sound of truth." Adiz's eyes widened. "Chioma and Bizi may come back. If they agree," he said. "They too have wounds that never healed. Sometimes, wounded people need a chance to speak so their hearts can find peace." He rested his hand gently on her shoulder. "But hear me well, Adiz," he said slowly. "The day we decide to bring this matter to the open, there will be war. Not with knives and guns, but with words, shame and anger. Mama Obina will not fold her arms. She will fight with all her strength. People will pick sides. Your marriage will shake. Your name will be on every tongue." He paused. "Are you ready for that?" he asked. "This is bigger than fetching water and cooking soup. This is a fight for many hearts, not just yours." For a moment the yard was silent. Only the leaves moved, whispering like spirits. Adiz's hands trembled on the clay pots. Was she ready? She thought of her parents, proud on her wedding day. She thought of Obina's kind eyes, now clouded by fear of his mother. She thought of other young girls in other villages, laughing and dreaming, not knowing that one day they might marry into a house like this. Slowly, she lifted her head. "I am afraid," she said honestly. "But I am more afraid of doing nothing. If I keep quiet, I will suffer. Others will suffer after me. If I speak, maybe I will still suffer. But at least there will be a reason. At least something may change." Papa Okafor studied her face. Then for the first time he smiled. "Good," he said. "Courage is not a heart without fear. It is a heart that walks forward while fear is shouting." He stood up with effort. "Go now," he told her. "Fetch your water, return home and act normal. Do not show that anything has changed. I will send word to Neka. When the time is right I will call you. But be watchful. If Mama Obina suspects what you are doing, she will strike first." Adiz nodded and stood. "Thank you, Papa," she said. "May your days be long." She left his compound, her steps lighter but her mind heavy. She hurried down to the stream by another path, joined some women there, and pretended everything was as usual. They gossiped, laughed, and splashed water on each other. She smiled when they looked at her, but inside, her heart was preparing for battle. By the time she returned to the compound, the sun was already climbing high. Sweat trickled down her back as she carried the full pots through the gate. She stopped. In the middle of the yard, stools had been set out in a circle. A few elders from the village sat there, their faces serious. Some women stood at the side, whispering. Neka stood near the kitchen door, her eyes red as if she had been crying. And in the center of it all, Mama Obina sat on a carved chair, her wrapper tied tightly, her head high like a queen on her throne. When she saw Adiz, a slow smile spread over her face. "Ah," she said loudly so everyone could hear. "Our new wife has returned. But now we can begin." Adiz's fingers tightened around the pot until her knuckles turned white. "Begin what?" she thought, her heart dropping into her stomach. Then she saw it. Papa Okafor was there too, sitting among the elders. But the way he was looking at her, with a mixture of worry and warning, told her one thing very clearly. Whatever was about to happen was starting much sooner and much harder than she had expected. The air in the compound felt heavy, as if even the wind was afraid to move. Adiz stood at the edge of the yard, still holding the water pots. Her arms shook, not from the weight but from the eyes on her. Everyone seemed to be watching her and only her. "Come, my daughter," Papa Okafor said quietly, patting the empty stool beside the elders. "Put down the pots and sit." Adiz slowly set the pots on the ground. Her legs felt weak as she walked forward. She could see familiar faces: men from the village square, 2 women from the market, and a few young men who always followed gossip like flies. Neka stood behind them, her hands tied in front of her wrapper. Her eyes were begging Adiz to be careful. In the center, Mama Obinna sat straight, her chin high. She looked like a person who had already won a battle. "My elders," she began before anyone else could speak, "thank you for coming so early. I called you because something serious is happening in my house." Her voice shook slightly, but her eyes were dry and sharp. "You all know me," she continued. "I, Mama Obinna, have suffered for my children. I have farmed, I have traded, I have worked under sun and rain. My hands fed this family. Is it now, in my old age, that a small girl will come and destroy my name?" One of the elders, a short man with a gray beard, nodded slowly. "We hear you," he said. "But speak clearly. What is the matter?" Mama Obinna pointed a long finger straight at Adiz. "It is this girl," she said. "This new wife." A small murmur ran through the people standing. "She wants to turn my sons against me," Mama Obinna went on. "She goes behind my back telling stories. Already my first son's wife ran away and did not respect this family. Now this one has started her own trouble." Adiz's mouth opened a little. She wanted to speak, but Papa Okafor's eyes told her, "Wait." "What stories?" another elder asked. "Tell us plainly." Mama Obinna slapped her hand on her knee. "Yesterday," she said, "I told her to work. Only work." She frowned. She dragged her feet. I did not complain. But this morning very early, someone told me she was seen going up the hill. Not to the stream. To your compound, Papa Okafor. Heads turned to look at him. "She left my work and ran to you to complain about me," Mama Obinna said loudly. "She wants to shame me. She wants to stand on my head in my own house." She pressed a hand to her chest. "Is this how a good wife behaves?" she asked. "Is this how daughters respect their elders now?" The elders looked from her to Papa Okafor. "Is it true?" the gray-bearded man asked him. "Did she come to you?" Papa Okafor sat very still. "Yes," he said calmly. "She came." A sharp noise came from the crowd. Someone hissed. Someone else muttered, "Ah, this new generation." Mama Obinna's eyes flashed. "You see," she cried. "You see it with your own ears. She ran to you to carry family matter outside to spoil my name. If she can do this after only a few days in my house, what will she do after 1 year?" She suddenly bent forward, covering her face. "My heart is broken," she said in a trembling voice. "I gave this girl food. I allowed her to enter my son's room. And this is how she pays me. By stabbing me in the back." A few women shook their heads in pity. One of them whispered loudly, "Daughters-in-law these days have no fear." Adiz felt her cheeks burn. Her hands were cold. Every word Mama Obinna said twisted the truth and pushed it far from what had really happened. "Let us hear from the girl," another elder said at last. "We cannot hear only one side." Papa Okafor nodded and turned to Adiz. "Speak, Adiz," he said gently. "Say your own." For a moment, the whole world seemed to hold its breath. Adiz looked at the elders, at the neighbors, at Obinna, who stood near the doorway looking confused and worried. She looked at Neka, who gave a small nod. "If I stay quiet now," she thought, "I will never be able to talk again." She stepped forward. My elders, she began, her voice shaking. I did go to Papa Okafor this morning. But I did not go to insult my mother-in-law. I went to ask for help. Mama Obinna snorted loudly. Help for what? To be lazy. Adiz took a deep breath. Since the day I entered this house, she continued, Mama has given me work from morning till night. I do not complain about work. My parents taught me to work hard. But in this house, nothing I do is ever enough. I am shouted at, insulted, and shamed all the time. Some people shifted uncomfortably. She told me I am useless, Adiz went on, her voice growing stronger. She said the other daughters-in-law were also useless. That she chased them away. That no girl will ever take her sons from her. At the mention of the other daughters-in-law, the yard grew still. Adiz swallowed. I did not want to run away like the others, she said. I went to Papa Okafor because he is an elder of this village. I thought if I spoke to him, he could help us find peace, so that I could live in this house without fear. That is all. She looked at Obinna, her eyes wet. I did not go to destroy Mama's name, she finished softly. I went because I am tired of crying alone. For a few seconds no one spoke. Then one of the elders sighed. This is a family matter, he said. Yes, the girl should not have come to us first. But Mama Obinna, you two must be careful. Young wives are like new clay pots. If you hit them too hard, they will break. Mama Obinna sat up straight, her face darkening. So now you say I am the one wrong, she demanded. After all the years I have carried this family. After all the money I put in this village. Are you calling me a wicked woman? No one said that, the elder replied quickly. We only say let there be peace. Talk to her gently. Teach her slowly. These things can be corrected. Corrected. Mama Obinna's voice rose. Corrected how? By letting her go from compound to compound, complaining about me? Today she runs to Papa Okafor. Tomorrow she will run to the chief. Next tomorrow she will run to the gods. Some people laughed nervously. She turned suddenly to Obinna. My son, she said in a low, heavy tone. I carried you in my womb for 9 months. I fed you with my own breast. I suffered for you. Now look well. It is time for you to choose. Will you stand with your mother, or with this girl who has been here for only some days and is already spoiling our name? The words hit Obinna like a blow. He looked from his mother's face, twisted with anger and fake hurt, to Adiz's face, full of fear and hope. Mama. Adiz. He began, his voice cracking. Please, can we not? Choose, she shouted, slapping her hand on her chair. Now, let everyone hear. Do you stand with me, or with her? The yard went silent again. Tears filled Obinna's eyes. He loved his mother. He also loved his wife. But he had grown up fearing his mother's anger. He had seen her throw herself on the ground, curse, and swear she would die when his brother tried to defend Chioma. He had seen how the village had blamed his brother for killing his mother with stress, even though she was alive and strong. Now that same fear rose in his throat, choking him. I stand with you, Mama, he whispered. The words were soft, but they cut Adiz's heart like a sharp knife. Her vision blurred. For a second she felt like she would fall. Mama Obinna's face relaxed, pleased. You have spoken well, she said. You are my son. She pointed again at Adiz. You hear, she said to the elders. Even my son knows where the truth is. This girl is trouble. If we leave her, she will scatter this family. I want her out of my house. Out, Adiz whispered. You want to send me away? Yes, Mama Obinna replied coldly. Go back to your father's house. Tell him you could not respect your husband's mother. One of the women in the crowd gasped. But she is newly married, she said. Won't that shame her family? That is her problem, Mama Obinna snapped. Let it be a lesson to other girls who think marriage is only to wear beads and dance. Adiz turned to the elders. Please, she said, her voice breaking. If you send me away like this, everyone will think I am evil. They will think I did something bad. I told you the truth. Is this my reward? The elders looked troubled. Papa Okafor's jaw was tight. This is too fast, he said. We have not called her parents. We have not spoken to the other women who lived here before. We cannot throw her away like a broken plate. Mama Obinna stood up so quickly her chair scraped the ground. Ah! She shouted. So now you are on her side. You, Papa Okafor, want to disgrace me in front of my own house. She beat her chest. If this girl sleeps in this compound tonight, she cried, let my ancestors punish me. Let my husband's spirit flog me in my dreams. I will not share my roof with a snake. Some people began to murmur in agreement. Fear moved through the crowd like a cold wind. No one wanted to be seen as the person fighting an old woman's curse. Papa Okafor closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were full of sorrow. My daughter, he said to Adiz, for now, go to Neka's small hut at the edge of the compound. Stay there. Do not leave. Do not return to your father's house yet. I will send a message to your parents myself. And I will send messages to the other women. This matter is not finished. Mama Obinna laughed harshly. Do what you like, she said. So long as she is not in my house, I have peace. She turned and walked toward her room, people moving out of her way. The meeting slowly broke apart. Some elders left, shaking their heads. Others avoided Adiz's eyes. The women began to talk in low voices. Neka rushed to Adiz's side and held her. Come, my child, she whispered. Come to my hut. You are not alone. I am alone, Adiz whispered back, tears rolling down her cheeks. Even my husband chose her. His fear chose her, Neka said softly. Not his heart. This story is not finished. That night, Adiz lay on a thin mat in Neka's small smoky hut. The moonlight came in through a crack in the wall. She could hear the village sounds far away. Drums, laughter, the cry of a baby. Her own heart felt empty. Maybe I should just leave, she whispered into the dark. Maybe I should go back home before they push me out. Neka, lying beside her, turned. If you run now, she said, Mama Obinna wins. She will sit in that compound and wait for another girl to punish. And another. And another. Is that what you want? Adiz wiped her eyes. No, she said. But what can I do? Even the elders are afraid. Even my husband. She could not finish the sentence. Just then, a rapid knocking sounded on the hut door. Neka sat up. Who is it? She called. It is me, a young boy's voice answered. Papa Okafor's grandson. Neka opened the door. The boy stood there, breathing hard, sweat on his forehead. Papa says I should tell you, he panted. They are coming. He found them. He told me to run ahead and say you should be ready. Who is coming? Adiz asked, sitting up slowly. The boy's eyes shone wide in the moonlight. The other daughters-in-law, he said. Chioma and Bizi. They are already on the road to this village. When Chioma and Bizi arrived, the sky was turning red with sunset. They walked into Neka's small compound with dust on their feet and tiredness in their eyes. Chioma was thinner than Adiz had imagined, with gentle eyes that had seen too many tears. Bizi was stronger looking, with a sharp gaze and a firm mouth, but her smile when it came was soft. For a moment, the three women just stared at one another. You are Chioma, Adiz whispered. Yes, Chioma said. And you are Bizi? Adiz asked. Yes, Bizi replied. And you must be the new one. The one Mama is trying to break, Chioma added quietly. They all looked at each other again. Then, as if one string tied all their hearts together, they stepped forward and hugged. Neka watched them with wet eyes. You see, she said softly. You are not alone. That night, under Neka's leaking roof, the four women sat close and shared their stories. Chioma told Adiz everything. The kneeling on stones, the lies, the way she had left in shame. Bizi spoke about the insults, the missing letters to her parents, The way Mama Obinna had cried and cursed until Obinna pushed her away. Then Beezy said something that made everyone freeze. "When I left," she whispered, "I was carrying Obinna's child. I wanted to come back and tell him, but your mother-in-law sent a message to my family that I had been unfaithful. She said I tried to trap their son with another man's baby." Dee's gasped. "Is it true?" Beezy shook her head hard. "Never. I left with a clean heart. I worked in the city. I struggled alone. My child is with my sister now. He is almost 5 years old and has never seen his father." Neka covered her mouth. "This woman," she breathed. "Her wickedness has too many roots. We must pull them all out," Beezy said, her voice low and steady. "Not only for me, Fachoma, for you, for any woman who will ever enter that house." They all turned to Papa Okafor, who had come quietly and was sitting in the corner. "Tomorrow," he said, "we go to the village chief. This matter has grown too big. It can no longer hide inside one compound." The days that followed were like a pot of soup beginning to boil. Word spread. The old daughters-in-law were back. Some people were shocked. Some were curious. Some were angry, saying the women had no right to return and speak after leaving. But Papa Okafor went from house to house, speaking slowly, using wise words. "Is a woman a goat you can chase from one place to another?" he asked. "Can we let the same pain repeat and call ourselves a community?" The village chief listened. Last he agreed. "We will hold a meeting in the village square," he said. "Not a small one. Big one. Let all who have mouth come and talk. Let all who have ears come and hear." The day they chose was a market day. By midday the square was full. Stalls were closed early. Goats were tied in the shade. The talking drum called people from every corner of Umuoka and even from nearby villages. Adiz stood in the center, just as in the moment we saw before. Her wrapper was dusty, her heart was beating hard, but her eyes were strong. Beside her stood Chioma and Beezy, and behind them Neka and other women who had suffered and kept quiet for too long. On the ground, in front of everyone, Mama Obinna knelt. The elders had ordered it. "If you can make others kneel on stones and sand," they said, "you can kneel on ordinary earth and answer questions." Ashes were rubbed on her arms, the way she used to rub ashes on the faces of her daughters-in-law when she wanted to shame them. A heavy mortar full of yams stood beside her, ready. "You will pound," the chief had said, "under this hot sun, just as you made these women work under hot sun with empty stomachs. Let your own back feel what theirs felt." Her fine wrapper was already soaked with sweat. Her lips were dry. Her proud eyes were still trying to burn, but fear was sitting behind them like a shadow. "Speak, Adiz," the chief said. "Tell us why we are here." Adiz stepped forward and spoke clearly, her voice reaching the edges of the crowd. She told the story from the start. The first days in the compound, the too much work, the insults, the lies. Then Chioma spoke, her voice shaking as she remembered her bleeding knees. Then Beezy spoke, telling them about her child, about the false shame placed on her name. Neka added her own words, saying, "I saw. I was here. Fear closed my mouth, but it did not close my eyes." The crowd listened. Sometimes they gasped. Sometimes they muttered. Sometimes they turned to look at Mama Obinna with anger and surprise. At last, the chief turned to her. "Do you deny these things?" he asked. Mama Obinna raised her chin. "They are all against me," she said bitterly. "They want to paint me black. Are they the first women to work in marriage? These girls are soft. They cannot take correction. They ran away instead of learning." "Correction is not the same as cruelty," Papa Okafor said gently. "Teaching is not the same as breaking someone's spirit." "Your own sons cannot stay married," another elder added. "Where there is always smoke, there is something burning." People nodded. Still Mama Obinna tried to fight. She cried, she shouted, she called on her husband's spirit. She rolled on the ground and said she would die if they believed the daughters-in-law. But this time something was different. The village was tired. They were tired of seeing young women leave in shame. They were tired of pretending they did not hear shouting every night. They were tired of stories that did not add up. One by one, people began to speak. "I remember when Chioma knelt on stones," said an old neighbor. "My wife told me. I told her not to get involved. I was wrong." "I remember Beezy coming to the market with red eyes," said a trader. I asked, "What is wrong?" She said, "Nothing." I knew it was not nothing. Kept quiet. I was wrong. Even Obinna stepped forward, trembling. "My elders," he said. "I fear my mother. I love her, but I also love my wife. I saw things. I refused to see them fully. I let fear close my mouth. I too was wrong." Tears rolled down Adi's cheeks when she heard him say that. Not sad tears. Tears of relief. The chief looked around the square. "Today," he said, "this village will decide what kind of place it wants to be. A place where fear rules or a place where truth rules. A place where mothers-in-law use power to kill joy, or a place where elders protect, not destroy." He turned to Adiz. "You are the one who refused to run," he said. "You are the one who called others to stand. What do you say should happen now?" The whole square fell silent. Adiz looked at Mama Obinna on her knees. She remembered the pain, the humiliation, the loneliness. She remembered her father's words about wicked people and chairs. For a moment, anger pushed her to lift the cane in her hand. "You said elders never kneel to the young," she said, her voice ringing out. "But did you remember that when you made Chioma kneel on hot stones? When you made Beezy sleep outside in the cold? When you tried to break me?" The crowd murmured again. "You punished every daughter-in-law that entered this house," Adiz continued. "Today you will taste what you gave them. Not because I hate you, but because wickedness must not sit on a throne forever." She raised the cane. "For every tear they cried," she said, "you will." She stopped. A small movement at the edge of the crowd caught her eye. Someone was pushing forward, led by Papa Okafor's grandson. A young woman walked into the open square, carrying a little boy with big, searching eyes. Adiz's heart jumped. It was Beezy's sister, and in her arms Beezy's son. The boy's face looked like a small copy of Obinna's. The whole village gasped. The child looked around, confused by so many faces, then pointed at Obinna. "Mama," he said in a small voice. "That man, he looks like me." Beezy stepped forward, her voice steady but full of pain. "This is your grandmother's biggest secret," she said, looking at Mama Obinna. "She did not only break hearts. She broke a family. She took a child away from his father with lies." Mama Obinna's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Obinna stood frozen, tears pouring down his cheeks as he stared at the boy. "My son," he whispered. "My own son." In that moment, whatever pity some people still had for Mama Obinna broke like a pot on hard ground. Her wickedness was no longer hidden in dark corners. It was standing in front of them, holding a child's hand. The chief spoke again, his voice firm. "Mama Obinna," he said, "you used your power as a mother to hurt, not to heal. You made your house a place of fear. This is your punishment. For 40 days you will live in a small hut at the edge of this compound, not in the big house. The young wives will not cook for you or wash for you. You will cook for them. You will sweep for them. You will pound yam for them as they pounded for you. On each market day you will stand in the square and call the names of these 3 women, Chioma, Beezy, Adiz, and bless them out loud so that all can hear. You will send gifts and apology to their families. And from today, you will no longer decide what happens in your sons' marriages. If you try, the elders will come again, and your shame will double." He turned to the crowd. "Let this be a warning," he said. "Any elder who uses their age to crush the young will face the same." The people shouted in agreement. Mama Obinna tried to speak, but her voice broke. For the first time she looked truly small. Adiz lowered the cane. "I will not beat you," she said quietly. "Beating is what you understand. But I want you to learn something new. Feel what we felt. Taste what we tasted. Maybe then your heart will change." Chioma and Bizi stood beside her, shoulders touching. For the first time they were no longer just victims. They were witnesses. They were women whose names had been cleaned in front of everyone. That evening, as the sun went down, Mama Obinna stood over the heavy mortar, pounding yam for the women she once called useless. Her back ached. Sweat ran into her eyes. Neka watched her, not with joy at her suffering, but with quiet hope. Maybe, Neka thought, this is the beginning of her healing too. In the days that followed, things changed slowly but surely. Chioma returned to her village with her head high. Bizi went back to the city, but this time she did not go alone. Her son had a father now, and Obinna visited often, trying to repair what had been broken. Adiz stayed in Umuoka with her husband, but not in fear. They moved into a small house of their own, close enough to help, far enough to breathe. Sometimes when Mama Obinna tried to raise her voice, Obinna would gently say, "Mama, stop. We will not live like before." Little by little, the old woman's fire grew smaller. Some mornings, Adiz saw her sitting under the Udala tree, watching children play. Her eyes were softer. Once she even called Adiz and said, in a rough, stubborn voice, I was wrong." It was not a full apology, but it was a start. And so, in Umuoka, people began to tell the story of the wicked mother-in-law who punished all her daughters-in-law, and the one brave wife who became her match, stood her ground, and brought justice for them all. The children who heard the story learned this: that respect is good but fear is dangerous, that elders should protect, not crush, that when one person finds the courage to speak, they can give courage to many others, and that sometimes the greatest punishment for a wicked heart is not a beating, but being forced to feel, at last, the pain it once gave so easily to others.